kids, one and all. Welcome to the playground. I am your host, Danvers, aka John Faust, but you guys know the drill about that at this point. I am very excited about my guest today. He is the purveyor, I was about to say provider, purveyor of Captain Jack's pirate hats. He is an actor, a writer, an all-around great guy. Welcome, Jeff MacKay.
Thanks, John. It's nice to be here.
Absolutely. It's nice to be here. So before we begin, sure. I want to show everybody. This is the hat that Jeff made for me quite a few, well, not maybe a few years ago. I can't remember. The
Captain Barnacle hat.
But Captain Barnacle, I absolutely. So I will say, hands down, I have. I've done the pirate thing and sort of the period 18th century thing for a long time. You make the best hats I have ever touched in my life. I mean, they're just fantastic. So
I appreciate that.
We'll talk more about that, of course. All right. Well, I guess we'll start right off the bat.
Sure.
Tell me about your pirate journey, because
oh my God,
there are so many pictures of you online, and I mean, they look like paintings. It's just amazing.
Well, my pirate journey. Well, it all started when I was a kid. No, honestly, I did play pirate a lot. You know, I grew up in Ohio, in the Ohio Valley, and you've mentioned before on your shows talking about, the East Coast and just the history that is involved moving as you come across the country from the East Coast. And the French and Indian War and the Revolutionary War, the Ohio Valley was west. It was the far west. It was the boondocks. It was where you didn't want to go because that's where all the monsters and, natives,
the unknown,
the dark unknown lived.
So back in Europe, it was like, don't go into the woods. And in America, it's like, don't go west.
Yeah, exactly. So I grew up in the Ohio Valley. And so I was also, as a kid, very, very interested in the French and Indian War history, the Revolutionary War history. And so I played pirate and privateer and smuggler and stuff like that as a kid.
Love it.
And Halloween, you'd always fall back on being a pirate. I mean, I did a lot of my own makeup and stuff as a kid, and was the mummy and the werewolf and all these other classic horror creatures that, were favorites of mine as a kid. But I'd always fall back on pirate if I had to. And in any case, that kind of lay dormant for a while. And in 2003, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl came out. And like many people, I saw it opening day. And the Jack Sparrow character resonated with me. I was like, oh my God, that's my alter ego. And of course, I should fall back. It was also fed along the way by yearly trips down to Disney in Florida, to Walt Disney World, and writing Pirates of the Caribbean. And it was also fueled by the Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights. As a kid, you would watch it, and there would be Blackbeard's Ghost with Peter Ustinov, and then also my favorite of all time, Dr. Sin, the Scarecrow of Romney Marsh, which I would watch every Halloween religiously. And
of course.
But in any case, so it lay dormant, and then Pirates of the Caribbean came out. I struck a chord with Jack Sparrow, and I was like, that's my next costume. And because I was a big Halloween costume contest kind of guy, I'm also a big competitor, and I didn't take the year before. I had the best costume. I was a kite mare. I don't know if you know what that is.
I don't know what that
kiting. You know windsurfing?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, I ran a windsurfing business called Big Winds in the Hood River, in the Columbia River Gorge in Hood River.
Oh,
I was one of the managers. And it was just at the time when kiteboarding was just starting to take off. And there were all kinds of accidents because people didn't, we were learning, and people would get their strings tied around their fingers and then the kite would power up and it'd cut their fingers off, and
Oh
people
my
would get
God.
flown into pylons and break their neck. There were deaths. Anyway, those are called kite mirrors. So
Yeah.
for Halloween, I was a kite mirror. I had a inflatable kite wrapped around me, and I had done prosthetics, so my bones were sticking out, and I had fingers missing, and I was all bloody and everything. And I tied with a guy that did Edward Scissorhands, and it was the worst Edward Scissorhands I'd ever seen. And I tied, and I was like, "This, no, 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 this is not okay." So when I saw Jack Sparrow, I was like, "Oh, this is it. I can win."
Yeah.
And so I immediately set about finding out, who made the boots, who made Jack Sparrow's boots. It was, CA Boots in Texas, and I had him make Joey make my boots, and I had the frock coat made and all this stuff, and I could not find anybody to make the hat. And I remembered I had seen hat makers in Colonial Williamsburg as a kid, and on one of our family vacation trips, and so I started researching it, and then I got felt and I started doing it, and I made my own hat. And I had researched and found out that although Jack's hat was leather in the movie, they didn't really use leather at the time period. They used wool felt,
Right.
and they tarred them. And the tar pitch that you would put on hats would pack down, and it ends up feeling like smooth leather. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do it the right way. And so I learned to do it the right way, and I made the hat, and I did the pictures, and they got out on the internet, and people started saying, "Where'd you get your hat? Where'd you get your hat?" And so I was like, I made my hat. And they said, "Make me one, make me one." And so Captain Jack's Pirate Hats was born. At the same time, Disney did something that they've never done before and they've never done since. They released Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl as an interactive movie. And I don't know if you were ever made it to any of the interactive movies. It's like,
I have not. I am surprised
it was like
because
Rocky
I watch
Horror
those
Picture
movies
Show.
religiously. Oh wow!
We showed it in Portland. I was Jack Sparrow, and it's really cool. And then we did it in New Orleans.
I mean, what a great idea!
And then it was they showed it in New Orleans at NOLA Pirate Festival, and I went there to do that. But it's great because you bring a green apple, and when Barbossa bites the apple, everybody in the audience bites their apple, and when they have the keys, when the dog has the keys, everybody shakes keys, and the script, everybody's lines come across the screen, so and it will say jingle keys, bite apple, drink rum. No, it said all kinds of stuff, and it was fun. It only showed a few times, but anyway, did that and got hooked up with Boom, the Brotherhood of Oceanic Mercenaries, which is a Portland-based pirate reenactment group, and started shooting black powder. And started investing in getting more flintlocks and getting a swivel gun and things like that. So the journey started. And side note, I went to Jack Sparrow as Jack Sparrow to the Halloween contest. Mm-hmm. I did win, and I met my future wife. I was up dancing on the stage, being Jack Sparrow. And in came this lovely young witch, and she glided through the audience and motioned for me to come down off the stage, which I did. And I was wearing my dreads, and she said, "Is that your real hair?" And I said, "No." And so anyway, a few years later we were married, and a year after that we had our son. But she started pirating too, and from there, it was a journey. I mean, we started the Pirate Furniture Company, the Pirate Trading Company, where we did clothes. Captain Jack's continued to grow. When I first started out, So see, you're not getting a word in, are you? I've talked.
No, no,
I've talked a
I
lot
am
already.
absolutely. I love this.
So
So keep
I
going.
started Captain Jack's, and at first, when what I did for my business model, I had no idea how much people would pay for a Captain Jack hat. So I put them on eBay, and I said, let eBay decide the price, what people are willing to
Yeah,
pay. And so I did that, and I sold
people are
one, and then I made
cheapskates
another
too.
one, and I
So
sold it, and I made another one, and I sold that, and I did that. I did one a week for a couple months, and then I was like, okay, well, people are willing to pay this amount every time, and then I balanced that against the hours, that it took me to put in, the materials it took me to put in, and I found out that I still wasn't making money. But no, but like a lot of things, you find out that at that time, because it was all new to me, it's a lot easier for me now that I've been doing it for 4 years. It doesn't take me
yeah,
as long to make a hat as it did then. But in any case, when you figure in your time and everything, it was like, well, I can be selling these. I can do it as a business.
yeah,
And so I decided I needed to be selling more than just the Jack Sparrow hat. So I added the Barbosa hat. And I said, well, what if we do some other different styles of pirate hats? And so
yeah.
I came up with the Blackbeard and the Jean Lafitte. And then I came up with the crazy ideas of my own. I designed the MacKay hat, which is the bifurcated
Yep.
front peak, which
Uh,
is so,
full disclosure. I know you've got a block of hats you're doing right now.
yep,
Probably fall.
yep.
I want the scallywag
All
so
right.
badly. So that is
Not
coming
not a
from me
problem.
at some point.
And now it's at a point where, I mean, the business got built up enough that I typically am about 8 weeks backlogged in my production queue at any time.
That's not
It
bad because some people are like, it'll
Oh
take a
yeah,
year to get. Yeah,
boots. You want custom boots? It can take you 2 years, but
yeah.
so it's about 8 weeks. It depends on the size. It used to be everybody got 23. Everybody's heads. I don't know if our heads are growing or what, because it used to be the most common head size was a 23. And so when I got first started, I kept investing in getting more 23-inch blocks, and so I could whip them out pretty quickly. Now everybody's heads are 24-inch. I don't know why, but that's what I get the most orders for. And so I'm about 12 weeks backed up on 24-inch hats. So
Wow.
so
Okay.
it just depends on the head size. But in any case, so started working with Boom, started doing this and that. Started going to more pirate festivals in the North Pacific, in Portland, and the port from Seattle down to Portland, the whole North Coast, and started making a name for myself and making a name for the hat business. The hat business took off. It was only a couple years, and then I actually made hats for Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3, and
Oh wow.
Blackbeard on the History Channel, and things
Yeah.
started things started to take off, and pretty quickly. I mean, by 2009, I was doing so much. It was insane at that time period.
Yeah.
2009 was also the Order of Leviathan, the first Order of Leviathan. I got inducted into, at the time it was the Devil's Dozen Pirate Lords, that we were the first 13 that were inducted into the Order of Leviathan, which was
Nice.
sponsored by Pirates Magazine. It later got not taken over as in a hostile takeover. It got taken over in a amicable takeover by Mutiny Magazine. I should just say
Okay.
they became the sponsor and host of
It was an administrative
yes
takeover.
yes
Yeah.
of the Order of Leviathan. The founding members of the organization were still the same and all that, so it was all copacetic. I forgot where I was going with that, but in any case,
So you got so busy. You were in the Order of the Leviathan that started.
So I was making a name for myself, or became a name, I guess. And about that same time, Rebecca and I had our son Wild, named him Wild James MacKay. He was now 3 years old, and we were getting seen on a lot of YouTube videos and from a lot of events and things like that. And I had worked on, so yeah, it was 2006 by then, and I was contacted about making hats for an independent film, a small indie film called Pirates of the Great Salt Lake, by Eric Nelson, and I made the hats for the film, and it came out, and I met a couple of guys that worked on that show, and they would come back into my life in 3 more years in 2006 when they would when they would bring the idea of doing a reality TV show into our lives for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And so, but I don't know where we want to go on that. If you want to talk about Pirates of the Great Salt Lake, or where you want to go.
So did this reality show come to fruition?
The reality show was called A Pirate's Life. And we were under contract for 3 years, which at the time I did not know. We were newbies. We didn't even know what reality TV was. Rebecca and I didn't watch TV, so we didn't know what reality TV was. But so we started binge watching Little People, Big World with the Roloffs, who we then met at their farm and became friends with, and then did pirate gigs at their farm. But in any case, so we didn't know anything about reality TV. And these guys came to us. They had worked on Pirates of the Great Salt Lake. They were the props guy, and Josh was. I don't know what William did. But in any case, they were a production company, and they came and said, "We have an idea for you." And they went down to the Order of the so they came down. This was 2009. They came down to New Orleans to film myself and my best friend Mark Hyman, Dr. AKA Captain Quicksilver at the time, and get some video on the induction and stuff like that. And they had just sold a series called Knights of Mayhem, starring Charlie Andrews. And any case, so they came to me and they said, "We got a great idea. We want to talk to you about doing a reality TV show called A Pirate's Life, about you and Rebecca's life, navigating as pirates, raising a child, and navigating the regular world while doing all these pirate things and living this pirate lifestyle." And it would bring in all these people that you interact with from other fields in the pirate world, like a blacksmith and like a tavern owner and like Quicksilver, who did pirate pots, and we would bring in all these different things. And so we said, "Yeah, we'll do it." And we signed a contract that was for 3 years, where we didn't know at the time that standard in the industry, you should do a 1-year contract with a 3 to 6 months extension if you're in production, and then renegotiate contracts. We didn't know anything about that, and honestly, neither did they, because as a production company, they were new and ineffectual, and they didn't really have the connections. So we shot the sizzle reel. The sizzle reel looked great. It went to TLC, it went to Discovery, it went to History. It got bounced around. It went to Mark Burnett, and it got bounced around quite a lot. And in between that time, in that 3-year period, numerous other producers also got wind, and they all came and wanted to, hey, have you ever thought about doing a pirate reality show? You know, and we'd be like, we're under contract, and
Yeah.
and long story short, not the greatest experience. It separated our best friends from us, kind of
Yeah.
pulled us apart,
Yeah.
and ended up being bad, bad blood, kind of thing, ill feelings between people because we had different ideas of what we thought was happening, and so it was one of those things where it was inexperience on our part and inexperience on the people who were trying to lead us by being our producers, who they just didn't know either. I mean, so stepping forward just a little bit, we ended up being represented by Jeff Cohen. I don't know if you know the name Jeff Cohen.
Maybe.
Jeff Cohen played Chunk in The Goonies.
Oh yeah.
And Jeff is an entertainment attorney in Los Angeles, and he ended up representing us. And he looked at our contract and he was like, "Dudes, you should have never signed a contract for 3 years." He was who told me, look, this should have been a year at the most. You guys that was a bad mistake. And it was like, what do we do? And he said, well, I guess you wait your time out. But luckily it never happened. And it got kind of squirrely at the end because they were, anyway, it didn't happen, but that was just the beginning of our, that was our introduction into the world of reality TV. Then Rebecca was one of the first mermaids in the country who was getting mermaid notoriety. I mean,
I've seen those photos. They're just
She did a
gorgeous.
YouTube video on how to make a tail clear back, like in 2006. That's got millions of views by now, but anyway, she was writing for Mutiny magazine. She was doing a article at the time. Again, this was about 2009, 10. She was doing article Mermaids in the Wild, and she was interviewing all the top mermaids. Each month she had a different, like Hannah Fraser was the top mermaid at the time, and Lyndon, and I forget the rest of them. But anyway, she was interviewing all these mermaids, and then she herself was a mermaid. And so she got approached by producers from a producer in LA. Hey, would you like to do a mermaid reality show? Let's get all your contacts. Let's get all these people under contract. Let's get all your, and that was all great. Tom Schaus, who was the tail man who made the original tail for Daryl Hannah for Splash, was a friend of Rebecca's through social media, and we had actually met Tom at pirate conventions and gone to Tom's house and all this stuff. So Rebecca hooked this producer up with Tom and everything, and long story short, they wrote Rebecca and I out of the picture and took all her contacts. And
what an asshole.
Yeah. And luckily, that was a situation where that never got picked up as a reality show either. But I mean, they had a different view than we did. The producer wanted it to be more like Mermaid Housewives of Laguna Beach or something, She didn't. She wanted a lot of drama, and of course, in the mermaid community, just like the pirate community, there is a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama built in, with creative people who are play acting,
strong personalities
who are play acting, and adults who are playing dress up. And and I say that tongue in cheek, because myself included, obviously.
Oh, I mean, I'm the same way. So.
Yeah, and so, but they wanted even more than the normal drama. There would have been enough drama. It's like you didn't need to create, you didn't need to make things up. So that was the second foray into reality TV, and then there would be 3 more after that. So
Wow.
and we can get to
Wow.
those whenever, but any other time you want to jump in on anything else, let me know.
Look, this might be like volume 1 of this episode.
Well,
I love it.
It's funny because I moved away from Newark, Ohio at 18 to get away from Newark, Ohio, because of the conservatism that there is here, and just the racism, the bigotry, and etc. And so I moved as far away as I could. I went to California. Also, I was on a wrestling scholarship, so I went to where I could go, And at the time, the junior world team coach was coaching in San Bruno, and I went to Northern California for 2 years to get my AA, and then I moved down to the Bay Area, and so I was trained under the USA coach there for Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling, and did quite well. But that put me on the East Coast. It put me in San Francisco, where I stayed for 14 years and did my BA and my MA there, because it's one of the best cities in the world, or at least was.
Yeah.
And it was a great place for...
There's a lot of that going on.
It was a great place for a kid from Ohio to move to have your world open up and to have a lot of other opportunities and see a lot of other things. And those experiences are treasures, they're gems.
Yeah.
But why did I get to that point? Bring me back. Come on, John. Bring me back.
So, I'll just kind of interject this, and hopefully it'll jog the memory. So I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, and it was gorgeous. And I am really happy that because I was in Memphis and in Charleston, so there was kind of a move.
Memphis, Tennessee,
which is a disaster. Yeah. But anyway. Charleston was beautiful, and I was exposed to the ghost stories and the pirate stories, and I worked for I was a tour guide at the old Exchange building, and I just was saturated with all that stuff. But I was the same way. I'm like, this is a very conservative area, and I was kind of coming into my own, and I'm like, I need to get the hell out of here. So my senior year of high school, I went to North Carolina School of the Arts and graduated there, and then went to New York and did Actors Conservatory, and all these things, and I love it, but it's just it's a shame that we can't all get along. Basically, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but. Those experiences that we have shape
who we are.
This kind of sounds cheesy, but it shapes who we are. And, I think it is important for us to travel and live in new places and experience new cultures and people and figure all that stuff out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think that's where I was I was talking about the drama that would have been in the Mermaid reality show.
Oh, yeah.
That could have been there, and they didn't need to put any more in. Yeah,
but I think that's very typical of those.
Well, yeah, and that's honestly that's part of what happened with A Pirate's Life and it not happening, and not.
Oh, you're a happy functional family. Let's see if we could destroy that. So.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what happened with Knights of Mayhem, because Charlie Andrews and his best friend. Shane McAdams were, like I said, best friends, and they competed against each other for the world title of jousting champion, whatever. And they were both supposed to be in Knights of Mayhem, and the producers, the Knights of Mayhem was Charlie's idea, and that's what his jousting troupe is called, Knights of Mayhem. And Shane was one of the Knights of Mayhem. And anyway, they were in negotiations with the History Channel. And the producers talked Shane McAdams into going to Discovery and pitching Full Metal Jousting. Pitching a jousting of the same type of thing, set up a little differently and given a different name. And I may have the two production companies backwards, networks, whether it was Discovery and History, but whatever. They had to settle a lawsuit. They had to settle. They settled out of court, and they both had their own shows, Full Metal Jousting and Knights of Mayhem. They both came out at the same time, and the guys were not friends for a while. They are reconciled now, and they are buddies again. But it's the type of thing that producers do, and and especially in reality TV, it seems to kind of be an insidious kind of little tricky thing that they like to. Yeah. They lure the people in, and then they want to change them for the sake of ratings and whatnot. And it's all about it. Like always, it's always about the money. And I mean, we were afterwards. Later, we were under contract with Sharp Entertainment out of New York to do a session of My Crazy Obsession, and we were going to be.
Oh my!
We were going to be Pirate Family, okay. And one of my mates, who actually John Bauer, okay, who is one of the original creators.
I love that name.
He's one of the original creators of Talk Like a Pirate Day. The two creators were buddies called Mark Summers, who goes by Captain Slappy, and John Bauer, who goes by Old Chum Bucket, and they invented Talk Like a Pirate Day. So John did an episode with his wife. They did an episode of Wife Swap, and so he got approached by Sharp Entertainment about this other show, My Crazy Obsession, and they were like, "Do you want to be on again? Do you want to do another show?" And John was like, "No fucking way." Yeah. I don't want to do another show. And he suggested the MacKay Pirate Family. And so we were like, yeah, we'll do it. That's cool. And it got down to the 12th hour. They were literally supposed to be coming to film us the next day, and we hadn't heard from anybody. And I finally got a hold of the producer on a Friday night, late, and he was like, "Oh, well, we don't need you. We decided to go in a different direction." And we were like,
"Thanks for letting us know."
Thanks for letting us know. We'd done all this stuff around our house to make good for the cameras and whatnot. And what do you mean you're not interested? Why, if you don't mind us asking? And they said, "Well, in reviewing all your stuff, we really decided that you aren't quite obsessed enough." And we were...
You weren't eating the ashes of my dead husband.
Yeah,
crazy,
it's like, what do you want me to do? Skin people and rape, pillage, and plunder? I mean, what do you mean we are not obsessed enough?
I was going to show you how keel hauling works.
Yeah. You don't know what you're missing. But yeah, so there. And then there were two more things, but
wow. All right, let me ask you, because I do want to go back to the Pirates of the Great Salt Lake, but I've just got a question, if this is okay. So how did your wife and your son Wild, how did they react to all of this craziness? Were they on board?
Oh yeah, completely.
Oh, okay.
Excited to do whatever we were doing, and at the same time, hurt, just like me, when things didn't work out.
Sure.
Disappointed, and with the reality, some of those things, betrayed, and the loss of opportunity and things like that. And that brings me back. Sorry that we'll probably end up doing this through the whole thing, end up bouncing around, coming back. but that loss
That's
of
what a
opportunity.
conversation is.
So this is like
yeah.
the loss of opportunity thing. Our first producers hadn't even sold A Pirate's Life, all right, but they were already planning season 2 and season 3, right? And so season 1 was going to introduce all these other people. Season 2, we were going to be opening a pirate museum in St. Croix in the USVI.
Okay.
Because we had all this cool pirate stuff.
Yeah.
So we were and it was going to be me and my wife and my best friend, and his significant other, opening this pirate museum, and that was going to be season and the challenges of that, and that was going to be the second season. The third season was going to be following me into Hollywood, trying to pitch my script for The Buccaneer, the screenplay that I wrote in 2009. And so it was going to be me doing that. And at the same time, it was going to be following Rebecca on her mermaiding journey and possible reality show, because this was at the same time. So it was going to be Rebecca moving up the ladder in the mermaid community and doing this stuff, Jeff going to Hollywood and pitching The Buccaneer, and how that pulls on the two of us, and how Little Wild in the Middle fits out. So anyway, the producers recommended to me not to actually accept an offer. I got an offer for The Buccaneer from an Italian production company.
God.
The exchange rate at the time, because there was a flat rate and then there was a completion bonus if the film actually went into production, it got made. And if that happened, it was a $1.2 million contract.
Wow.
I passed on it because it was two things. One, it was the Italians. I would have signed 100% over. They would have signed Giuseppe Verdi or something's name to be the writer. My name would have appeared nowhere on it. And so I would have gotten no credit for it. And I didn't like that idea. Right. And so there, of course, were people that were like, no, don't sell it. You'll get it made. We were trying this whole grassroots movement to sell The Buccaneer. And so it was grassrootsy enough that Italians heard about it, but the producers for the reality show, A Pirate's Life, were like, don't sell it. They kind of downplayed it. They were like, well, it's really only $800,000 if it doesn't get made and your name doesn't appear on it. So you probably don't really want to take it. Besides, if you sell it, then we won't have any content for season 3 and blah, blah, blah. And in retrospect, the money in the hand probably would have been better than not the money in the hand and waiting for a show that wasn't even sold or picked up by anybody, and I could have always written another script,
Yeah.
So anyway, lost.
Well, if you ever do produce it, look, I'm an actor, just saying.
Lost opportunity. But
it's crazy. I mean, that sucks. But I've been through, maybe not quite that extreme, but I've been through
similar
circumstances like that too.
Yeah.
And it sucks because you feel like, A, I could have had this made. 2, I feel like I've been taken advantage of. And it's just, it sucks.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So your question was how were Wild and Rebecca with all that? And they were great.
Yeah.
I mean, Wild was born into it. So I was already doing Jack Sparrow reenactment. For the first 4 years of Wild's life, he thought I was Johnny Depp. When he watched Pirates of the Caribbean, he thought it was me. Because little kids see through little kid eyes, right? So all he saw was his dad doing.
How old is Wild now?
He'll be 19 June 20th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
He's 45.
No. He's homeschooled. He just graduated. I mean, he was a
Nice.
late birthday, obviously June 20th. So we put him
Yeah.
in late. And so he was 18 his whole senior year, and he just graduated. So,
That's great.
yeah.
Congratulations.
But so anyway, and he wants to act. He wants to be an actor, and he did a little piece with me. We did a homage to Monty Python's Dead Parrot sketch. We did it
Yes.
pirate, and it's on YouTube. And so he wants to, anyway. That's what he wants to do, and hopefully he'll get to do that. So
I love it. That's fantastic.
yeah,
That's great. I love that. I'm glad that your family like didn't the drama didn't cause friction.
oh yeah,
and maybe
no,
it did, but it's like I can just see producers manipulating and it causing families to fall apart over that kind of
right.
stuff, and it doesn't sound like that happened with you guys, and I'm glad because don't trust nobody.
No, yeah,
So,
and it didn't. Well, and then so in 2012, lost my mom. We were living in, Rebecca and I and Wild were living in the Columbia River Gorge, but we were living we had bounced back and forth. The Columbia River is awesome because it runs right at the border of Washington and Oregon. So Washington doesn't have property tax. Oregon doesn't have sales tax. So you live in Washington, you shop in Oregon, you don't pay any taxes.
Nice.
But in any case, why did I go there? I hate doing this.
It's all right.
No,
but your family survived
so
the drama.
we had wildfires that were happening in Washington and Oregon, and so we were getting smoked out and whatnot, and we were like, we got an offer from a guy to come to Lake Chelan, Washington, which is a kind of seasonal resort for water skiing on the lake and whatnot, to come up to there and he had written a script. He wanted us to come be the Lake Chelan pirate family. And we were going to they were going to have a pirate museum for us. And we were going to live above the museum in an apartment above the museum.
Yeah.
And so we went up, we checked out Lake Chelan, and we're like, yeah, we could live here. This could be okay. Because the guy had a really good story and everything. And so they were going to have a Lake Chelan Pirate Festival. And so we were going to come up and be the celebrities. And then after that, we would start moving. And so we had everything in it. We went up with everything, a moving van and our van with our cats and our kid and everything. And we get up there and we end up finding out that it was all a lie. The guy was literally a narcissistic person with delusions of grandeur who lived in his own mental world. And I mean, we got up there for the pirate festival. We had other pirates coming too. We had friends from Canada coming down, pirate group. We had another, I only did the Jack Sparrow impersonation thing for about a year. And then Jack Sparrow was popping up all over the place. I mean, you can't go to any pirate festival and not have 2 or 3 Jack Sparrows. So I had only did it for about a year, and then I was out of that gig. But one of my friends was a really good Jack Sparrow. So we had him come up from California and people coming from all over to be at this pirate festival. And as it turned out, there was no advertising. There was no festival. There was just us. There was nobody to attend the festival. There were no vendors except a couple that had got hoodwinked also. There was a Scottish dance troupe that got hoodwinked from Canada to come down. All these people, nobody was paid. The guy didn't provide food for anybody. He had promised food, lodging, and there are all kinds of more stories about the lodging because he put us up in somebody's timeshare that he broke into. He had the passcode to, and he let everybody stay in it. And the sheriffs came at 3:00 in the morning to arrest all of us.
Oh
No,
my God.
No, seriously. And it was my name on the line and the MacKay pirate family that all these other people had come to do this event with, all based on what this guy had told us. And I don't remember if I was telling you that because it wasn't lost opportunity. I think it was because of saying Wild and Rebecca are always in through thick and thin.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, so you move down to this place. What do? You're just like, well, let's turn around and go back home, I guess.
We did. Yeah. We
Okay.
literally had no money in our pockets. We had to have Rebecca's mom, whose property we had lived on. We had a yurt previously. We had a yurt, and we had to wire Rebecca's mom and ask her to send us some money so that we could extend our U-Haul rental and pay for gas to get back from northern Washington down to southern Washington, and then we were back on the homestead with her mom and uncle and whatnot. Another opportunity that was just somebody making shit up, and it's like, and then we found out afterwards that the guy had done that with Christmas trees and reindeers events that he had up there, and just a number of other things. Had we known, and but in any case, that took us to. We had only been back a little bit, and I got a phone call, and another one of my hat customers had said, "Hey, man, I want you and Rebecca to come to our Halloween party, and I'll pay you guys to be here." And he flew us there, and we went to this Halloween party, and he has this big. He's a home haunter. He was a home haunter, and so he had this big haunt, and he was like, "I want to pitch you an idea. I'm building a 40-acre theatrical theme park. We're going to call it Evermore, and I want you to be the director of props because you make all kinds of fantastic shit. I want to hire you to be the director of props. I want to hire Rebecca. She does all your pirate clothing, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, she does." And he's like, "I want to hire Rebecca to be the director of wardrobe, and she's got a great eye. I want her to be, interior design, and you'll be set design. And so you guys will both wear two hats, and you're going to be part of a 12-person team of Imagineers." And so we moved to, since we were already moved, able to move, we found a place very quickly. We moved to Pleasant Grove, Utah, which is south of Salt Lake City.
Right.
It is the most Mormon section of the state, highest concentration. We were the only non-Mormon people in our whole area. So that was it was a culture shock to us, but
a lot of Mormons love haunts.
They do. They have a
really. Okay.
Oh yeah. They have a shit ton of haunts in Salt Lake, tons of them. So we got brought in to be part of the team, and oddly enough, our producers, who were the guys from Pirates of the Great Salt Lake, lived right down the way in Orem, Utah, which butts up against Pleasant Grove. So we're like, now we're neighbors with our old producers in some respects, and so we got brought on to do this project where the idea was it was going to be seasonal entertainment based on 3 seasons. The fall season was a 5-event haunt. There was, the way we designed it on this 40 acres, there's an old London town that's a haunt. There's the governor's mansion, which is a haunt. There is the Church of Bones and the cemetery, which is another haunt. And this is all centered around a lake. And then there was the factory, which is like an old Victorian steel mill or whatever, the factory haunt. And then there was the pirate ship haunt. And it wasn't really a pirate ship in this story. It is a 3-mast brigantine that has come in and wrecked and was carrying artifacts of the occult, and those artifacts got loose. And so anyhow, there's the ship haunt, and then there's one other haunt, which was the mining caves and cavern. So each of those was a chapter in this overall story written by fantasy writer Tracy Hickman. And Tracy's son Curtis is a magician who has designed things for for Copperfield, and maybe for Chris Angel too. I don't remember, but in any case, so he had all these amazing illusions and stuff that I then brought into reality through things that I would build, and they did the computer work on them and stuff. But anyway, we designed this 40-acre park called Evermore, and we did 2 Comic Cons. Salt Lake. It was the first and second year of Salt Lake City Comic Con, and they busted records for the size of Comic Cons in the U.S. And I made 2 scale models, 1/72nd scale model of the whole park, with the ship and the buildings and all the stuff. And so anyway, this is a whole haunt thing. So it brought in all of our, what do I want to say? All of our
all of your creative,
yeah. It was
all your expertise and
it was all of our creative juices were flowing and firing. And Rebecca and I were a design team. We did all this stuff. It was great. It was great. The problem was they couldn't get the money, the capital, to actually build this thing. And the idea was that it was kind of an actor heavy event site, because there had to be actors to interact with all the people and all these things. And while the guy who funded us to do this and everything wanted it to be better than Disney and thought it would be better than Disney, and all of us with big pop bottle eyes who thought we were going to have a percentage of this and a percentage in Disney, so to speak, we were all, in some respects, not living in reality when you think about the fact of how much money the mouse has to throw at things. And so we made great mausoleums and all kinds, and amazing tombstones that would withstand the weather and could go outside. And we did the 2 Comic Cons. His home haunt became huge because we had to move it to a different we had to move it to the Evermore property to end up doing it. And it was underattended, and it was the property sat right in a neighborhood, so not well thought out as far as noise and whatnot. So there were a lot of issues.
And traffic.
Yeah, there were a lot of issues, and it ended up. So we worked on it for 2 years, and then we were all basically let go because they couldn't raise the money and they couldn't keep paying us all. And they did then come back when they did get some money, they came back and brought Evermore Park out as more of a LARP role-playing kind of place. And it still was underattended and actor heavy, and they suffered financial woes for the 3 or 4 years that they did it. And in any case, it's not a park now. I don't know that they're doing anything. But during that time,
I was gonna ask, like, it sounds like a great place to like film stuff too, but if it's no longer there,
well, it's still, the property is still there, but the problem was the buildings and things never, a lot of them never got finished. They were always in stages of unfinishedness, except for the tavern, which is, they try to make it their restaurant, Xander's Tavern, and but I don't, hopefully these people see this, they won't feel bad about it. I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but a far cry from what the original team of 12 people designed, and what ended up being actually produced and presented to the public, and even that over time was not sustainable. But during the 2 years that we were there, we also came up with the idea, because the guy had it, the main guy had his hands in a lot of things. He did a horror movie called Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
And he did another little cult film called Unicorn City, which is about LARPers. And in any case, so the idea came up, hey, what about a reality show called Creating Evermore? Well, what happened was they didn't come up with that. They didn't come up with that idea on their own. So what happened was someone from Blue, now I'm going to draw a blank for a second, but anyhow, production company out of Denver, Colorado and LA got a hold of me and Rebecca and said, hey, have you guys ever thought about doing a pirate reality show? And we said,
oh my God.
Yes, we have thought about it. If you want to see a sizzle, if you want to see a sizzle reel on it, I'll show you a sizzle reel. We have thought about it. It never got picked up. But right now we've moved on to other things. This is what we're doing. We're doing Evermore Park, blah, 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 blah. And the guy said, that sounds like it could be a reality show. So we took our boss and we connected him with that guy, and they were going to do a reality show called Creating Evermore. And it was going to be about the 12 Imagineers, and it was going to follow us around and yada, yada, yada. The problem was the park wasn't built. At that time, the park wasn't even beginning to be built. It was just props and stage stuff that we had made for his haunt. And while they sent a team to film and make a sizzle reel to sell it, they shot the sizzle reel, and then the whole park idea, the money couldn't come, so show couldn't come, so it fell apart. So we're out of that for about a year, and one of the producers calls us again and says, hey, I know you're not at Evermore anymore. Would you think about doing a pirate reality show again? And we said, well, I don't think so. And he said, well, no, really, this could be a good thing. Let's talk about it. So we did talk about it. And the idea was going to be that it would be a pirate game show. And I said, we already did that. It was called, Mark Burnett did it. It was called Pirate Master. One of our friends won. And so we know all about that. And it wasn't really that, the ratings for that weren't even that great. So I don't know about this. And he said, no, I think we could do it. We can do it differently. And So we talked, and Rebecca and I ended up coming up with 8 episodes. We wrote 8 episodes. We wrote what the events would be, the overall story arc, what would happen in each of the 8 episodes of this. You know, it's reality TV, so it's scripted reality, right? So
Right.
we design a season of this show, but all of a sudden it becomes radio silence.
Yeah.
So I finally get through, and the guy goes, I'm not going to be with High Noon. It's High Noon Entertainment. I'm not going to be with High Noon Entertainment anymore. I'm leaving. I'm in my last week. Dude, what happened? He's like,
Thanks for letting us know.
He said, I got to tell you this. Between you and me, he said, that guy that you worked for with Evermore Park left such a bad impression and whatever with my bosses that when I brought this to them, this is what happened. They said they would never work with anybody that was connected with Evermore Park or him in any way. Not anybody now, not anybody then, nobody. And so,
wow.
I hate to say it, dude, they've instilled new rules within our organization, within the High Noon Entertainment organization, because that guy was just not good news. And he says, and I'm moving to Hawaii, by the way. I'm leaving my job and I'm moving to Hawaii. And we were like, all right. So that was our last foray into reality TV. And so 5 opportunities and 5, it's like, yeah. So anyway,
that's a roller coaster ride. That's
and I hope I didn't bore your viewers with that too much.
No, I find it kind of fascinating because, you know, I've done theater and I've done independent film, but I've never seen kind of the underbelly of that side of it. Or at least, you know, hearing firsthand. So I find it kind of fascinating and tragic.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've all as creatives, we've all been connected to somebody who was a little over their head.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was one of those people. I tried to do a movie before raising the money, and, you know, that all fell apart. But at least I was upfront with everybody. Right. I'm like, this fell apart. I apologize, and I'm sorry I've wasted everybody's time. It doesn't seem like you had people like that in your corner. So.
No, well, yeah. And it was, I mean, it's a hard situation with people who are if you have a group of people and they're all creatives, but nobody has common business sense.
Yeah. And
like when we were creating the park, it was just like, if we needed something, it was just like an open checkbook. It was just like, and so the money was going out, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we met always as a group in the morning conference, and we would discuss what we were doing and what we needed to get done and all that stuff. And it was one of those situations where, you know, a good idea would be, even though it was your idea, you didn't really get thanked for it. It became the team's idea, or even more importantly, it became the boss's idea, right? It was the boss's idea to do this, the boss's idea to do this. The boss, you know.
Yeah.
And afterwards, you find out it wasn't even the boss's idea to do the theme park in the first place. It was somebody else's idea. It was the head of construction's idea, original idea, and he pitched it when he was building the boss's house as just a construction dude. And then the boss was like, "That's a great idea. Let's do that." Yeah. And so
I'll steal your idea.
And then you have the guys, like, he just wants yes men. Like, whatever his idea is, he would just want yes men around. And if you weren't like
Look, we all know how that's
one of our
going right now, so.
top creative people was not there very long, and it was Edward Pickle. I don't know if you know the name Edward Pickle. Edward Pickle is in the haunt industry, is an icon.
Okay.
He lives in Florida.
Okay.
He's an icon. He gets hired. He speaks on how to do haunts all over the world. He
was in that documentary. Because I went to with my show Demented Features, I went down to the New Orleans Haunt Festival. I mean, this has been a few years ago, but I think I actually met him. Now that I think about it, so yeah, I know that exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Edward Pickle became a good friend, but Mr. Pickle was not a yes man, because Mr. Pickle had so many years of experience in the haunt industry. He would flat out say, "No, that's not how you do it. That you can't do that. You can't do this." He would be like, "You're not going to get the throughput that you need to make the money to make this viable. Your main concern as a park, as an attraction, is that you have to have a certain amount of throughput in order to." And Disney has the throughput because of their design, and all of their rides are designed to keep people moving. And the idea of our park was you could mill about in old London town, and depending on what you saw and what you did, it might change the story for you, right? Like you would be living an interactive experience, which is all great in theory. It's all a great idea, but it was not an idea that was financially viable. And Mr. Pickle would straight out say, "No, that's not going to work."
Yeah.
Mr. Pickle?
Yeah.
Enjoy your flight back to Florida.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, that's too bad. Because, I mean, if you had listened to that and, if you're open-minded enough to go, okay, this person clearly has more experience, what can we do to make this work?
Right. If you're earlier on in the process, you say, well, maybe I should listen to this guy because he's the guy with the knowledge. He has the experience instead of I'm the guy with the money.
Yeah, I mean, if I take on, and I do this all the time, I love to take on stuff that is new, but I do all kinds of research to figure out, how does this work? So anyway, I'm going to backtrack a little bit because
at any time, because that's what I was saying to you. It's like,
well, we referenced Pirates of the Great Salt Lake, but we haven't actually talked about it. So, talk about that a little bit.
So, Pirates of the Great Salt Lake is an indie film about two guys in Salt Lake who just meet over circumstance, and they want to be the best pirates Salt Lake has ever seen. And they do find a treasure map, and there is a treasure buried, and so it's a comedy of errors and of finding this treasure with a little bit of a moral story behind it too. But one of the interesting stories about it is, so Eric Nelson wrote and directed the film, starring Kirby Hayborn and Trenton, what's Trent's last name? Anyway, and a lot of these guys, people that were in it, we met later through moving to Pleasant Grove,
the area around Salt Lake,
because the film community through BYU, through Brigham Young University, everybody in the film community in Utah knows each other, and they all get used in a lot of the same movies that are pumped out of Utah. They have their own micro, not Hollywood, but micro,
it's kind of like the theater community, film community here. I mean, everybody knows each other, and if they don't work together,
they know who has. So in any case, I met a lot of those people later. But so Eric, eventually, we screened the show, and being the more piratey looking guy. I went to LA to help pitch the show. I went with him to New Orleans to, be there to pump it up and that kind of stuff. But in any case, man, I was saying, it's like I do drugs or something, and I've never.
No, I'm the
I've
same
never
way.
done a drug in my life.
All these thoughts go through your
yes,
head, and you're like,
exactly,
there's so much going on at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
and they,
why did I come into
and they
the
block
show?
each and they block each other. So Eric eventually sold the show to the Weinstein Company. Well, he thought he had. He thought he had.
Yeah.
And then I get a call from him, and he's like, dude, I've got a problem. You know the movie, you know the TV scene where Flint is polishing the sword with the sandpaper in his bedroom, and he's watching the TV, and his mom catches him. We were on the TV, we were showing Captain Blood.
Yeah.
We can't get the rights from MGM to use that clip on the TV.
Yeah. So
we were wondering, could we film you and another pirate and put you in the movie on the TV screen fighting? And I said, yeah, you can use me and my buddy Mark, Captain Quicksilver. Here in Hood River, Oregon, we have a really cool staircase with a wall that looks like it'd be out of a seaside castle or whatever, even though it was built by the Army Corps of Engineers, and it just looks great. We can sword fight on that staircase. You can put it in the movie. And so they did that. They flew Josh, who became my producer, or the producer for Pirate's Life.
Yeah.
They flew him out. He filmed us. They rendered it into black and white. They put it on the TV screen. So I'm actually in the movie as myself, sword fighting on a staircase when the main actor is watching TV and polishing his wooden sword. And it is a funny scene. If you haven't seen the movie,
I have not seen it yet, but I absolutely will look it up.
Well, this is the good news. It just got added to Prime.
Oh, nice.
It's on Amazon Prime. And I was in there as it was in print when they're in the library, and the one character is reading a magazine. There's an ad for Captain Jack's pirate hats on the back of the magazine.
Nice.
And I'm sitting there with my Irish Terrier, and then I'm also standing. So I'm in two pictures on the back of the magazine, and I thought, that's awesome. My hat's in the whole movie. My hat's in the movie through the whole thing. And then it's like an advertising plug. So I thought that was great. And then I actually end up getting film credit for it, for being in the film as myself. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because it's like, and I'm glad we kind of like backtracked to a really positive experience, because it sounds like this it went
it should never sound it should never sound like all these things like the MacKay pirate families had a bad life or anything. It's like we're incredibly blessed, and we know that, and we're.
But it's like this. It's like this with every creative person, me, and everybody I've ever met. It's like you go through these experiences.
Yeah,
and some
you
are
pay your dues,
and some of them are like, "Oh, well, we learned our lesson there." So,
well, that's what if you're not. What do they say? If you're not learning, it's. I don't know. It's always a lesson, and you got to learn. You got to learn from.
You got to learn, and you got to grow.
Exactly,
it's just part of it. That's why everybody's like, a creative's life is very difficult, and this is why.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like right now that you're working on, whether it's a script or a concept or anything that you're
Well,
going to try and do in the
I've got a
future?
couple uh, things that I'm bouncing around in my brain, but right at the moment, my major focus is we're doing a project. I'm playing Joshua Taylor, uh,
Mm.
in a movie that is in pre-production called Crossbones and Roses, written
Mm-hmm.
by Antonio McKay and Daryl McCullough. Antonio McKay um, did uh, Santa Negro, which is or Sangre Negro. Sorry, I always get it wrong. Black Blood. It's it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a series. It's a 2-season series. I think season 1 is already on Netflix. Season 2 is not on Netflix yet. It's coming out on Netflix, or yeah, Netflix. I think it's Netflix, not
Mm-hmm.
Prime. I think it's Netflix. But in any case,
Okay, I found this on the web for it's a 2-season series. It's already on Netflix.
shut up. My phone, Giles comes in and answers for me. The phone's even off. Talk about ghosts. So, but yeah,
They're
so
always watching us.
I'm we're right now they're in rewrites. We had the table read. They're rewriting some parts of it. So I'm just studying for that and growing my beard out. My character has a
Mm.
beard, and so normally by this time, it's summer in Ohio. Um, it'll start getting hot and humid, and this would be gone. But
Yeah.
and things are pushed back. But we had, hoped to be filming in the late part of this summer. So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see, and that's
We'll
that's going to
see.
be down in the Caribbean. So,
Oh, that's
but
great.
yeah, so that's my
Well, I'll tell you what, if we
my
can ever
script.
connect in the same place. Oh, I love it.
So just
If we can ever connect in the same place, I would love to collaborate with you. So
that would be fun.
just I'm putting that out there for the universe. Um I love that. I mean, I think it's great that that you've always kind of got something
In the works.
in the
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
works. I
There's
mean, I'm the same way. It keeps us motivated and keeps us
yeah.
going.
There's always something. I mean, after the Buccaneer, I wrote the Buccaneer so that it's open ended. I had planned on, and it's on writing a sequel to it. And so that always is back there that needs fleshed out. And
Mm.
I thought of another one where that I posted. I did a mock up and posted it on social media called Old Dogs, and because the whole old you can't teach old dogs new tricks, but it's about an old retired covert operative who just wants to live peacefully in his apartment and garden, do his plants,
Yeah.
And he has a neighbor next door who's a young lady, and she gets nabbed for sex traffic, and he
Oh
goes
wow.
after the people to find her, and so that's something
Mm.
I'm working on. Um,
That's a really that's a
but
that's a
using
cool concept. Yeah.
all old school spy stuff, not all the current
Yeah.
gadgets and stuff like that. It's like he does the
Right.
footwork and knows how people are, and he's a quiet, because he's a gardener, and he's an unassuming individual like myself. He's small, he's demure. Uh, I'm 5'4", and
Okay.
I know I come across bigger in pictures. People always are like, when they meet me, they're always like, "I didn't know you were this little." It's like, dude, I know it's because I have a big personality, and even it's so funny. Even and I'll have to go back to, so don't let me lose track. But even when I went
Okay.
back to like my 20-year high school reunion, it might have been my 30-year. Anyway, I went back to one of my high school reunions, and everybody's like, "I don't remember you being this small." weren't you bigger? And I was like, dude, I wrestled 98 pounds in high school. I was not bigger.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, when I was in the going into the 7th grade, I was 3'11". I was actually considered a midget.
Wow.
So it's like, I'm lucky that I got to 5'4". But so anyway, and this character is the same way. He's small, so he's overlooked. That was part of his thing as a covert operative. Nobody took notice because he's always just, you know, bigger people assume less of smaller people. They don't think they're capable. They don't think they're dangerous. They don't think they're, you know, they just look through you and over you. And so, and that he's always used that to his advantage. And so that's part of it too.
I love that. I think that's, I'm in an MFA program right now for writing for TV and film. And I love reading other people's stuff and hearing other people's ideas. And it's very inspiring. And I love that.
I should send you the Buccaneer for you to read it. It was really interesting because I made connections when I first wrote it in 2009, and I sent it to a number of directors who were kind enough to send me notes back. And I went through the notes. I just compared all the 5 people's notes, and I was like, oh, well, if this was an issue for more than 2 of them, it was an issue. And so I addressed certain things, and I'll be happy to send it to you. The only thing about it is I don't know what version I have on my computer. Stopped accepting Movie Magic Screenwriter, which was the software program I was using. It became outdated for my computer. And so I have to go with whatever version of it was at the time, and it might not be the last version of some of the stuff, but I'll be happy to send it to you.
I would love to read it.
But it was funny because at the time, 2009, and now I see movies all the time where kids get killed, dogs get killed, pregnant women get killed, but they were like, they were like, dude, you can't do this. You can't kill this. You can't kill this dog and this pregnant woman in the same scene. You can't do it. You can't do it. And I was like, well, this is my story. I can kill them both.
Yeah.
You know, but
that's right.
Anyway, so go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so you saw it on Facebook. You saw the Buccaneer page.
Yes.
Got this.
I saw it on your website.
Oh, okay. So you didn't. So you didn't see it. Do you want to hear the log line?
Of course, yeah.
The log line is: when a Scottish nobleman fighting in the French and Indian War is accused of treason and murder, he loses everything. Escaping the hangman's noose, he takes to piracy on the high seas to hunt down the man responsible. That's the log line.
I love it.
The pitch. Swashbuckling action adventure. The Buccaneers, Last of the Mohegans meets Black Sails without. Oh, that changed. It's a real-world story of Captain James Roy, a Scottish nobleman serving as one of Rogers' Rangers, fighting on the American frontier in 1756 during the French and Indian War. His life is complicated by his marriage to Wasuna, an Indian maiden. Change the word maiden, that's no longer PC. The love between the couple is strong enough to withstand their cultural differences and the war. James also inherits a map leading to a cache of treasure hidden by the infamous Captain Kidd. Indeed, James Roy is a lucky man. That changes when he's accused of murder and treason. James Roy loses everything: his family, his home, his career, and his social standing. While being transported back to England, and his prison ship is captured by pirates. Having escaped the hangman's noose, James Roy finds a new life on the high seas and a chance for revenge by joining them. He plays 2 sides of a divided and mutinous crew against each other and seizes control of the ship. He sails to the waters of the Caribbean to hunt down the man responsible for his downfall and swears his vengeance. Captain Roy and his pirates attack ships of the East India Company, freeing slaves and confiscating trade goods. They create a stranglehold on the shipping commerce to and from Jamaica. To the authorities, he's a pirate, a murderer, and a thief. To the people of Jamaica, he becomes known as the Buccaneer, A manhunt ensues as Lord Ashby, the sadistic governor of Jamaica, will stop at nothing to bring the buccaneer to justice. James Roy finds a chance at redemption and second chance at love in the arms of Lady Kate, Lord Ashby's abused and neglected wife. The two men sail a collision course for obsession and vengeance that will leave few unscathed. Will James Roy have his revenge? Will he claim his inherited treasure? Or will Lord Henry Ashby catch him in the end and end the reign of the buccaneer? From battles in the eastern woodlands of America and ship-to-ship battles on the high seas to plantations and jungles of the Caribbean, this is an action-packed, swashbuckling tale.
I love it, and it has sort of little tidbits, or what am I trying to say? It has Captain Blood.
Yeah.
Undertones
and
to it.
So this
sounds
this
great.
was the lookbook that I developed. I made for it back in 2009, and all of this, a lot of this information is on the Facebook page Buccaneer the Movie.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I'll send you the script. I'll send you the screenplay. You can read it.
I would love that. People who are listening to this and watching it on YouTube, I will put links in the description so that, if people want to go and see that, they can. When I was in college, I love that you said it kind of French and Indian War era. When I was in college, this is right after, within a year after Last of the Mohicans came out with Daniel Day-Lewis. I worked as a tour guide up at Fort William.
Oh, awesome.
So, I mean, for like 2 summers, I just literally lived that era. And it was just very, very cool. And,
that's awesome.
I love that period of history. And it was very cool, going to where Fort Edward used to be and where Fort William Henry. Of course, it's all a reconstruction, but it was cool. I loved it. And I love that period of history.
That's great. It's a little bit later time period, but see, we have, no, not that. This that I'm about to say.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ohio is home of, Chillicothe, Ohio is home of the longest running outdoor theatrical production of Tecumseh.
Oh, yeah.
And we used to go to Tecumseh every couple years and watch it. And I, as a kid, and I loved it. The muskets firing, the cannons firing, the battles, the fights, and the whole storyline of the Shawnee War Chief himself and all that, and his love of an Anglo settler woman and all that stuff. It was great. We loved it.
Yeah. The summer after I graduated from high school, this was 92. I'm showing my age. I did Horn in the West in up around Asheville or Boone, North Carolina, which is kind of a similar outdoor drama. And I remember it was so cheesy, but like we had basically shotguns that were made to look like muskets that we fired blanks out of, and it was it was all very campy, but it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
And I remember in the rehearsal period, like leading up, it rained every single day. So people literally had their scripts like laminated so they could.
Oh my God.
It was just insane. Outdoor drama is no joke. It is difficult work, but those outdoor historic dramas are like legendary, and they've been going on for 50 years or something crazy. So. I love that.
I just love that. I love the time period. It's like the whole, 1700s through 1812.
Yeah.
That whole period is just, it's really cool.
We talked a little bit about this pre-recording, and I'll touch on it. And this is going to lead into, our own beliefs, but this was college age, probably, I don't remember. This is mid to late 90s, I want to say. But I did some French and Indian War, but mostly American Revolution reenacting, because I lived, kind of in the area where it was popular. And I loved doing like the research, and I learned how to sew specifically so I could make
Sure.
some of the clothing because it was so expensive. And, you know, that brought on kind of a love for historic research and sewing and so forth. And I loved it. I loved that aspect of it. And I actually loved the muskets and, you know, all that thing. But the problem was, you know, being a theater kid, you think it's going to be kind of an extension of theater. And it really wasn't. It was just a big conservative NRA rally is really what it was. And so, I mean, that really, that turned me off after a while. And that's kind of where I found a little bit more joy in the pirate community because, you know, the couple of times I hung out with some of the people in New Orleans. I mean, it's literally we dressed up in pirate outfits, went pub crawling, and it was just tons of fun. But, you know, I'm still trying to find my tribe, if you will, as far as all that goes, because I love doing it, but finding like-minded individuals is a difficult thing. Cause
well, there's
very liberal.
Yeah.
And
well, there are quite a few. I don't know exactly where are you at in Texas. If you don't,
so I'm in
you're
Houston.
in Houston. Well, there's I know. Well, and
Galveston's not is like 30 miles.
I know
away.
Andrew,
and of course that's John Lafitte.
I have I have a lot of customers who are in the air down in the Texas, and I don't know if they're. I have to look it up. Galveston and Houston but they're all really. Really good people who are left leaning also. So,
yeah, but I mean,
and very theatrical.
One of the biggest Renaissance festivals is kind of right next to us, and that has its own drama, from what I understand.
Yep,
but
that's what I've heard.
Everybody goes in, Everybody goes and does the pirate thing at the Renaissance Festival, which I don't quite get, but anyway, it's still fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's out there, and you know, it's great. It's just you know, I'm a very specific personality, and you know, finding people that you know are fun to hang out with,
right?
And that you can be your authentic self.
Well, and that's what you want. I mean, that's what you should be able. Yeah. It's what you should be able to have. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
But, well, listen, I would love to have you back at some point if you were open to it. It sounds like there are more stories there.
Oh yeah, we didn't even touch upon my child acting or
and I would love to do that.
Any of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I was a monster kid too. I had all of the and I don't remember who the model makers were, but I had
Aurora models.
I had all the classic models. I built every one of them. I had the whole Disney series of the skeletons that were articulated where it opened and the guy sat up and
and we both have a huge love for the Haunted Mansion too. So
our whole house is. I mean, our whole house. I don't know if you've seen pictures on Facebook and stuff.
I've seen some pictures.
Our whole house is Disney. It's like you come in the foyer and the living room is Haunted Mansion exclusively, except for my cabinet, which I redid, and the green fits in the Disney color palette for the Haunted Mansion, but it's my cabinet of Grogu collectibles from The Mandalorian. Because of course, as a prop builder, I've built Mando's armor, I built the pram, I built the armor's armor, I built Boba Fett's armor, and all their weapons, which are actually in this room up on this wall. I'm in the hat room right now.
Yeah. Well, I see the swords behind you, which I
didn't film it so you could see guns. Flintlocks are that whole wall over there. Axes are that whole wall over there.
Nice.
But in any case, so the Haunted Mansion is our living room. You go into our kitchen. Our whole kitchen is Pirates of the Caribbean. it goes downstairs. Our upstairs bath is Jungle Cruise.
I
And
love
so
it.
that's just how we are. And again, Rebecca and I are, and Wild, all three of us are totally on the same wavelength and same
Yeah.
plan as far as the the way things look and
Yeah.
and what we do. So and I think
awesome.
maybe we were thinking about this before. We may do a home tour and put it on our YouTube channel or something. So
Yeah.
but in any case,
Yeah, I would love to see
in
that.
any case,
So-
yeah, I'd love to come back. There's certainly more to talk about. Didn't even get into our
Well-
films and all our favorite movies, and we didn't even get into horror and modern horror and all kinds of stuff. So
Well, look, I love chatting with you. I think we're going to be great friends. So let's plan on like later in the summer. Let's come back for second
sounds
part.
good.
Because I was going to ask like I was going to ask about just pirate movies in general, but like I love The Black Pirate. That's like one of my favorite with Douglas Fairbanks. It's like one of my favorite films. I love Cutthroat Island. I don't care what anybody says.
I like
love
Cutthroat
that
Island too. It's like, but except for a few exceptions. I mean, I have to say, there are different ways to look at different things, and of course, some people get very snooty about things. But I'm just happy if another pirate movie comes out. It's like it's an underappreciated genre at this day and age, where it seems like, well, Redbox is pretty much gone, but when you used to go to Redbox and every movie in Redbox would be a slasher film that was like Saw 34 or whatever. It was like, seriously.
Yeah.
Do we have to? You guys just want to come up with more horrific ways of how people can kill each other. It's like, can't you come up? For me, things that are more macabre have always been, the better horror stories. And so
the things that have atmosphere to them, and not just like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love some of the gore stuff too, but after a while it's like, oh, come on.
And it's like, but some things, like, I don't know why, like when I was a kid, 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I do.
And there were the bearded twins, and they cut it's like some of that stuff was scary to me as a kid, as a little kid. It's like, but I'm just thankful anytime a pirate movie comes out. And so, people who dog Cutthroat Island, I have no idea why they do. I like it. I mean, I was just watching this one is hard to get. Roman Polanski's Pirate.
Oh yeah, Roman
Captain
Polanski's
Red.
Pirates, yeah.
You can't find it. It's like,
Yeah.
So, but I like, I enjoyed it. It's not the best. I mean, I think Pirates for the movies, I think the first Pirates of the Caribbean and the first was the best. Second and third are okay. You get to 4.
Yeah.
I can't understand why, when it's a following timeline, Jack Sparrow all of a sudden grew more dreads, and his dreads turned blonde, and his outfit, the colors of things change, and he had to keep adding another belt. So by the last movie, his whole torso is covered with belt.
By this, if they do a 6th movie, it's like all belts.
It's like can't figure that out. But in any case, I still watch them, and I still would see them, and thank God for Black Sails. I mean,
so I was going to bring up Black Sails. Literally once a year, I will just binge
the whole
watch
thing.
It is my
I know.
favorite.
I just got done doing that. I did that last week. Yeah. It's really,
because I mean, I loved Treasure Island, and I want them. I doubt it's ever going to happen, but I wish they would come back and bridge that gap between where they left off and what happens in Treasure Island.
Yeah.
They should just do Treasure
which is your
Island,
favorite
anyway.
version of Treasure Island? That's the question that you always get.
So I think one of my favorites is the one with Charlton Heston. I have
And
problems
Oliver
with
Reed.
Charlton Heston. And Oliver Reed, God, Oliver Reed is so good in that film. But it's all these problematic actors that just like, oh, it's so good. Of course, I have a special place in my heart for Robert Newton's Long John Silver.
Well,
I mean, how could
he
you
gave us all the talk, so I mean,
he did. So, but that one, I tried to watch the Orson Welles one, and what's his name who played Billy Bones?
I forget.
It was he was in Transformers the movie. He was one of the voices, but it just didn't work. That was so miscast, and it was just so bizarre. I really liked the one with Eddie Izzard. So yeah, I mean, I think there's some great versions out there. Of course, the Muppet Treasure Island. I mean, how could you not love that one?
How
as
can
well?
you not love Tim Curry?
How can you not love Tim Curry? So I mean, I just think there have been some really great productions of Treasure Island out there, and
There have.
you know, so
Awesome.
I had a theater company. I'll end on this. I had a theater company in Austin for 10 years called Weird City Theater.
Oh,
And the first show we ever did
Treasure
was
Island.
Treasure Island.
Nice.
And it was just a series of platforms, but I have a very special place in my heart for that show.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
Very
All
cool.
right.
Very cool.
Thank you so much for being
My
part
pleasure.
of this. And I'm gonna drag you back no matter
Sounds
what.
good. Yeah, no, I look forward to it. Definitely.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome.
Well, hang on, and I'll just say goodbye to
Okay.
everybody. This will be bringing more Monster Kid Playground as the summer progresses. So like, subscribe, and all those things you're supposed to tell everybody to do. So until next time, we'll see you then.